So, namaskar and a very good afternoon. Well, I have been asked to change gears. A morning session I was with managers and I told them that the best thing around is becoming a management graduate. And now I am with engineering graduates. So, and I would say the best thing is to become an engineering graduate. Well, being with engineers, I feel myself totally at home because I have done long years in engineering. I mean, during our time, engineering used to be 5 years. So I did my 5 years in mechanical, then 2 years in industrial engineering, and then some 7-8 years in my doctorate. So I spent about 10-12 years in engineering, and I'm always at home being with engineers. Sometimes something very, very warm feeling I get when I'm with engineers. One thing we all know that engineers normally are, not very good at talking and giving lectures and making presentations. We are good at delivery. You give us a task and we deliver. And so don't expect a very high level scintillating presentation from me. Although I will be sharing my experience. And second thing is, in engineering, our English is not very good. We know 3-4 words. But, therefore, hence, and you can answer any question with these 3-4 words. So when we joined engineering, like you only, so we were just knowing these 3-4 words. So our engineering college, it was a government engineering college, thought that no, these people can't be good engineers, so we should teach them English. And believe me, we were taught English in the first year. I don't know whether you are being taught English or not, but we were taught English so that, we should become smart like managers and we should be able to carry ourselves in a nice manner. So, and we had very elderly ladies, 2 ladies who were teaching us English. So, they would teach us English, and we being engineers, we never used to learn anything. You teach us anything, we'll remain engineers only. So she would teach us and say that this is past tense, present tense, and this is noun, this is verb and all. For us, everything is some mechanics. So one fine day, she told us that today I'll be teaching you tense. Tense, kal, bhut kal, vartman kal. So English you have present tense and past tense and all. So she gave a long lecture about what is tense and all, how do you find tense and all. And then he says, now I'll ask you a question. And you have to tell me what tense it is. So she said, I am beautiful. What tense is this? The students, there were total silence. So one good engineer got up and said, Madam, past tense. So that's how engineers are. Well, today I'll be talking about the making of Bangalore Metro. We engineers, we do projects. We deliver. You assign a task and we achieve. And in fact, when I appeared for my IAS interview, I asked the favorite question. You have spent so many years in engineering. Why do you want to become an IAS officer? So my answer was, in engineering, acquiring knowledge was not the priority. The priority was a problem-solving approach. We, in our 4 years, 5 years of learning, we developed the capability of first identifying what the problem is, And then, because of the rigor we are put through in engineering college, we learn how to solve the problem. So we have a very focused approach. So as an engineer, don't think that I only know mechanical engineering. I know a problem-solving approach, and that's what I think will make me a good IAS officer. Well, I got very good marks in interview, and I'm standing here before you today. Had I not given this answer, I would have been somewhere else. So, I landed in a job that's called Managing Director of the Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation. And the task given was, this project has to be completed. And this was my first engineering assignment in my 40 years of service. Just before that, before this task, I was doing tax administration. Collecting taxes, setting up checkposts, and running after tax evaders, conducting inspections and all. Nothing to do with hardcore engineering, but yes, of course, problem solving was there. So from there, I end up over here as Managing Director of a Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation. A big project. It was the first metro rail project which was coming up in South India. And after Delhi Metro Rail, all were looking at Bangalore Metro as to how this will come up, whether we will be able to perform or not. So this task was assigned to me, and here what I am describing is how we went about this task, what were the challenges faced. And let me tell you, the vast majority of challenges were not engineering. There were so many challenges, organizational challenges, financial challenges, planning challenges. Engineering challenges were also there. But when you head a project of this size, one cannot be confined to only the engineering what he or she has learned. Handling a project of this size, a mega project, is altogether different cup of tea. And here I would say that what I learned in engineering college, the problem identification skill and the problem solving skill, that came as a boon to me as I was able to identify what the problems are going to be and how do we find the solutions. So with this background, let me start the presentation. Well, as any metro network, this was what was going to happen in Bangalore. It was two lines intersecting, and one was the red line, other was the green line, and total network was about 42 kilometers. The project cost was 14,000 crores. So big by any standard in 2012-13. And I was assigned this task that we have to complete this task. And today, if you see, we call it Namma Metro. Namma in Kannada means Hamari. So iska matlab hai Hamari Metro. That was name given to the Bangalore Metro. And on the operating side today, we have about 1,500 people, a very lean organization. And believe me that almost there are 266 ladies who are running the trains. A very, very unique thing. And running these trains is as sophisticated as flying an aircraft. So these trains are so sophisticated. And so these are people on the operation side. Now, if you come on the project side, there are two things. One is operating, the second is the project side. For constructing the metro system, we had almost more than 400 engineers who would be working around the clock. And these will be all type of engineers. We had mechanical engineers who will take care of the rolling stock and all the maintenance. We had civil engineers who will do the designing and do the execution of the viaducts and the tunnels. We had electrical engineers who will do all the traction system. We had the electronics engineers who will do all the communications. We had the computer engineers who will do all the design planning and all. So it was, I would say that you name a branch of engineering and it was involved in the building of metro. So my work was not only the mechanical part of it. In fact, I did not concentrate on the mechanical part of it. My work was to lead this team of engineers for achieving the task of completion of this project. Let's look at the volume of work. The figures are mind-boggling. We consumed about 175 tons of steel. We consumed about 22 lakh cubic meters of concrete. If you build a house, you will require about maybe 20 cubic meters of concrete, and you can construct a house. We consumed 22 lakh cubic meters. So that was the magnitude, huge. If you look at on the electrical side, the length of electrical cables was not measured in feet or meters. It was 900 kilometers of cable running across the system which had to be laid. The communication cables on the electronic side were almost 2,000 kilometers. We had as many as 22 big contractors. Now, these will be civil contractors, these will be electrical contractors, mechanical contractors, all of them. The most challenging part was how to coordinate their efforts and how to not only coordinate, how to synchronize their efforts. The civil works reaches a particular stage, the electrical work starts. The electrical work reaches a particular stage, the mechanical work starts. Then the electronic work starts. So, coordinating and synchronizing this was a big task. And we had equipments from as many as 8 different countries of the world. Well, now let's look at, this is one when the train had opened. What are the challenges? So the challenges can be categorized or classified into these. There are planning challenges. How do I plan the metro system? Second was the financial challenges. Now, we have to arrange money for this. We have to get money for this. How do we get money for this? Third was organizational challenges. This metro system cannot be done by an individual like me. An organization has to be built. I have to create a team, and this team would then deliver. So that was the organizational challenge. Then coordination challenge. As I told you, 22 contractors, so many engineers, so many disciplines. How do we coordinate the work? That was the coordination challenge. There was land-related challenges. In all projects, unless you have land, how do you progress? And as you know very well, acquiring lands in India is not easy. And that too, if you want to acquire land in a city like Bangalore, where there is huge amount of resistance, that was a big challenge. There were contractual challenges. 14,000 crores of money to be spent, and all has to be spent through a contract. So we should know how contracts have to be written. How do we safeguard our interests? How these contracts will be managed? These are contractual challenges. There were social challenges. Where will the line go? How do we evacuate people? How do we shift people? These were social challenges. Then there were technical challenges. Yes, of course, there were mechanical challenges, civil engineering challenges. The technical challenges were only a small component. Then lastly, there were the operational challenges. Having done the entire thing, the system has to run. So these were the operational challenges. So, as an engineer, when you are at helm of the affairs, these are the challenges you will face in any organization, in any big project. And if you are able to address these challenges, you will be able to achieve the targets which have been assigned to you. Now let's come to each one of these. First, the planning challenge. Now in a metro system, the biggest challenge is, where do you run the line? Now this, if you ask an engineer, what would he say? Sir, take it straight line. Easiest. That's an engineering answer. If you ask a finance guy, he will say, sir, take the line in such a way which is the least cost. Now, when you are laying a line like a metro system, you know very well, this decision is going to be irreversible for next 100 years. This decision cannot be taken merely on technical logic or financial logic. There are so many things to be seen. There are social logics. Can I have a glass of water, please? So there are social challenges. Now the line has to run in areas. It's quite possible you will never get an opportunity to take up the area over there. It's quite possible you want to run a line, a big temple is coming there. Can you run a line over there? So these are social challenges which have to be seen. And last but not the least, a part of technical challenge would be, should you go underground or should you go overground? If I ask you this question, how will you answer it? Should a metro system be underground or should it be overground? And any guess? Why? Yeah. The thumb rule is, overground costs 3 times, the underground costs 3 times as much as overground. So what should we do? Overground. So should we have the system only overground? It is not so easy. In some areas, you cannot go overground. Say for example, in the heart of the city, thickly populated, roads are not wide. Can you go overground? Impossible. But yes, as you move away from the city center, what happens is the population density drops. The roads are wider. The buildings are few. In those areas, you can acquire land and go overground. But in city center, you cannot go overground. So decision was simple. As you see on this north, south and east, west line, everything was overground except for the red plus in between. That was the city center. Then, where all should the line go? Now, where all should the line go? Yes, it's a technical answer. Where what is feasible. We also have to look at the demand. We just can't lay a line and say that technically this is the best alignment. No. One has to look at the traffic flow patterns. And based on the traffic flow patterns, based on the technical things, based on the economic viability, the alignments are decided. So, planning for any engineering project, planning has to be done with great and utmost care. One wrong step in planning and the entire project can go haywire. So, for any engineer doing a project, please make it a point, spend the maximum amount of time and energy on planning activity. And planning is not the function of a single stream of engineering. It has to be a coordinated effort. All teams put together have to sit together and do the planning activity. Then only a good plan will emerge. So with all these things, what we decided was that this is the best plan for Bangalore. It had technical inputs, it had financial inputs, it had social inputs, it had cultural inputs, it had population inputs, it had political inputs, it had religious inputs. It's quite possible you are taken an alignment, there is a big religious structure which you will not be able to touch it. So instead, you decide now only. Instead of creating a problem in future, why can't we design in such a way that these problems don't arise? The qualities of a good manager are, here let me explain. Slightly I'll go aside. Then it's called that a spider and a lizard. Both are very efficient hunters, The spider catches the prey and eats it. Even lizard also catches the prey and eats it. But it is said that one should follow the lizard policy and not the spider policy. Now tell me, what does it mean? Any idea? What's the difference between a spider policy and a lizard policy? Very effective strategy. Yeah. What's the lesson? Get the? Yes. Any good manager or an engineer, foresight. Please identify the problems before the problems come to you. If you are not able to do it, you will not be able to address those problems. Like a spider, if you keep on sitting, let the problem come here, then we will solve it. Like a lizard hunts for the problems and goes there and finishes it. So this should be the strategy in life. Please, entire planning has to be a good foresight. Please look forward, identify what likely problems are going to be there and solve those problems now. A simple example means we have 3-4 engineers sat together and made the best possible alignment. And as I said, that alignment was straightway cutting across a temple. Now, if you go by this, if you start the work, what will happen? The project will have to be abandoned midway. And such projects, investing 14,000 crores, can we ever do that? So, maximum amount of time and effort and farsight should go into planning. So that was the planning challenge relevant for all fields of activities, be it production in a factory or execution of a civil engineering project. Everywhere, planning and farsight is very important. Next, come to This I have just explained. Next is the financial challenges. Now, in a project like this, now you will say an engineer is not bothered about money. Give me money and I'll do the work. No. We have to find out how the money will come. And please don't have this in mind that financial things are not responsibility of engineers. No. We are delivering a project in totality. So, in a project like Metro, we want money, returns come over a period of 30 years, 40 years. It does not come immediately. So, what sort of money is required? We want money, loans in such a way which have to be repaid over a long period of time. And then, more importantly, can we have some creative mechanism of funding such projects? What can be the creative mechanism for funding a project like Metro? Any guess? See, projects like this, wherever the Metro goes, the price of property in those areas will shoot up. The challenge is how to divert that appreciation in capital to a source of funding. How to do that? Any idea how to do that? Okay. You are aware of FAR and FSI? Floor area ratio, floor space index. Okay, civil engineers must be knowing. What happens is when you have a piece of land, you can construct proportionate amount of area on that piece of land. That is called the FSI. So, normally FSI is 2, 3, which means that if the area of the plot is 100 square meters, you can build up 200 square meters, right? Not beyond that. When the Metro goes, the demand near the Metro goes up. So what we did was, we said that within 500 meters of the Metro alignment, within 500 meters, we will allow the FSI to be doubled. Okay? So earlier, you could have built 100 square meters on your plot. Now you can build 200 square meters on your plot. But for the additional FSI, you have to pay to Metro. Okay? So that's how this is not a creative thinking. So for the additional FSI, for him, it's not a loss. Because he gets more built up space, he will be able to earn more rent from that. So in order to earn more rent, he does not mind sharing a little part of that with us. So funding takes place like that. Second, one more thing was, Bangalore is known for the IT parks, and huge ones. Now, the Infosys IT park employs, how many people? Any idea? 30,000 people. They are big ones. And Metro is passing through. So we told them, the biggies like Infosys and the IT giants, we told them, Metro is coming is running in front of your office. We will give you a direct connectivity from the Metro station to your premises. So your employees can just walk on that bridge and join the Metro system. So for them it was 25,000 people every day. They will save at least 5 minutes by using this bridge. So they said yes, otherwise they have to go down, go through checkout and all those things, take a long path. So we told them, we will give this bridge. In lieu of this, the cost of entire station shall be yours. And believe me, Infosys has built up a metro station near their campus costing 200 crores. They say, sir, we will do it for you. Only thing is, please allow a travel letter from the metro station to my premises. And it's a reality. So more and more of IT parks and all, they came and joined. And that is how more money could be mobilized for the system. Now all this requires the ingenuity and creativity of an engineer. Now this is not financial management. This is financial engineering. And there is no subject like financial engineering, but it is built into the engineering process. Our style of thinking, our style of visualizing problems, and our style of solving the problems. So this is how the money for the metro was mobilized. Then we have the organizational challenges. Now, as I told you that one man can't do the entire thing. We have to develop a structure. So for developing this structure, we thought that there are two parts of it. One is running the metro system, and second is constructing the metro. Can the two organizational structures be same or different? Any idea? The simple thing was, construction of a metro was not a permanent thing. Once you construct the metro, the structure has to be dismantled. Only operation and maintenance will be continued. So that defined that we should not take people on permanent job on the construction side. But on the operations and maintenance sides, we have to take permanent employees. So that was the first rule which was applied. Had we done the mistake of engaging people on the permanent side, on the project side, what would have happened? After construction metro, what we do with them? So that was how the organizational structure was defined. Then, so we had a hybrid structure. So on the operation side, permanent people. On the project side, only contractual people. Then second was, all this structure was revolving around building multidisciplinary teams. As I told you, it was not one single stream which was important. It was several streams to be built together. So all the structure was small teams working together. So this was a unique way of doing it. And such a system, we do not have the expertise in India. It was being done for the first time or second time. So how do we go about it? We said that initially we should buy consultants from outside, but gradually, after 2 years or 3 years, we should dispense with them, and by that time, our engineers should have learned the process. So this was ensured in the structure itself that first 2-3 years, foreign consultants. After 3 years, our people take over. Now, all these things have to be built into the structure itself. And that's why planning the structure for any project becomes an important task. Next was the human resource challenges. This expertise of construction of metro was not easily available. This involved drilling of tunnels, making of bridges and all. Making bridges and all is available, but drilling of tunnels and procurement and running of mechanical system, electrical systems was not readily available. So as I said that, first of all, take foreign expertise, then ensure that our people start learning from them immediately. And once you have learned that thing, remove the foreign expertise and get on to our own people itself. So the structure itself planned in such a way that capacity building was an inbuilt function of the entire organizational function. So we told them very clearly, today you have these 100 people are joined as engineers. Your only work is to learn from these foreigners. And after 3 years, they should be out and you should take over. All this needs to be planned well in advance. Next were the coordination challenges. Now, we were working in a living city, which means that the work goes on, the city does not stop. The traffic does not stop. The business does not stop. And we still have to work. That was a big challenge. Now, metro works requires using of explosives because you have to blast open the tunnels, blast the rocks and all those things. And huge amount of resistance for that. So here again, technical solutions. How to manage the entire thing with controlled blasts, with low intensity blasts. So this was an area where technical solutions became very handy to handle the problem. Then second was that multiple agencies involved. Now, when you are working in a city, you require permission from traffic police. You require permission from the water supply line. You require permission from the electrical cable because you don't know when you are doing the work, you may end up cutting so many things. So, multiplicity of agencies were involved. And thirdly was uncharted utilities. Now, if you go in the city, no one knows where the drain is going, where the water pipe is going, or where the cable is going. You can ask the electrical department, they will say, "Saab, khod ke dekh lo. Agar mil jaye to hamara, nahi to aapka." So this was the problem, and you just can't find out. And by mistake, if you cut a cable, if an electrical cable is cut, the entire area becomes dark. All that is okay. If a sewage line is cut, then life becomes hell over there. And the worst is the sewage line. Sewage line is something, see, cable, what you can do is, you can lift the cable, divert it left, right, up and down, you can do it. Telephone cable, you can pull it out. Water pipeline also, you can divert it left, right and down. Sewage pipeline, you can't do anything. Why? What's the problem in handling sewage lines? Any civil engineer can answer? See, water pipeline can be diverted, but not the sewage lines. Why? Exactly. Our entire sewage systems in the city are totally linked to gravity. So it has to be at that level only. And God forbid, if a sewage line is going there and if your tunnel comes like this, what do you do? So these were the challenges. And the problem is, as I told you in the planning stage, if you can get a map of the sewage line of the city, no problem. But this map is not available. So sewage lines will get punctured. Life will become miserable. Sometimes we even had to depress our tunnel. Imagine, for a sewage line which is just maybe 1 foot diameter, our tunnel which is 30 feet diameter has to go down. Because you can't do anything with that. In some cases, we'll have to take a long detour of the sewage line so that the gravity levels permit the movement. At one or two places, we even had to install pumping system for sewage because nothing else was possible. So, this uncharted utilities, all of you will find it. Now, this project, as compared to a dam project, construction of a dam, there is no such issue. There the issues are getting environmental clearance, forest clearance and all. But once the clearances are done, you can work at full steam. Now here you cannot do that. We are inside the city. I told you it's a living city. You can't stop city functioning and you will find all these sewage lines over there. So that was a bigger challenge. And as I told you that ultimately it had to be a positive problem solving approach. That please find a solution. As I told you, sewage line, take the tunnel down, very expensive. Try to divert the sewage line if levels permitting. If not, install pumping systems. So we had to install pumping systems for sewage also. Then land-related challenges. Now land is very expensive in city areas. Apart from being expensive, people don't want to part with their lands. It's a small shop, a shop of 10 by 10 feet. You take away his shop, what do you do with him? What does man do with a livelihood? So plan the systems in such a way that you minimize the land requirements. Now this is where good civil engineering skills become very important. You can design the metro station structure, a very elaborate one, and taking huge amount of lands. You can design the same structure using minimum amount of land. So this is where, see, the technical solutions should not only look at, the functional part of it. Also see to it whether you will get the lands or not. So minimizing the amount of land, and secondly, be very liberal in making payments for lands. Of the entire 14,000 crores, the land cost would have been about, say, 500 crores. Now, if I save 10% in that, I save 50 crores. But if I say spend 100 crores extra and I am able to advance the date of completion, I get my money back in 1 month. So, in land matters and all, one has to be very liberal. Baba, you tell me what you want, we'll pay you that and get rid of that. Otherwise, what happens? Typical approach, especially in government, no, I will not pay you more than 50 lakhs rupees per acre. You do what you want. So he will pass an award, that fellow will go to court, there will be a stay over there. If there is a stay, your work stops. If your work stops, your liability bounds because you have borrowed money from bank. If you have borrowed 14,000 crores at 10% rate of interest, how much money you are paying per day? You are paying 3 crores as interest per day. Well, where do you get this money, sort of money from? So, very important is in order to ensure that your engineering projects goes on smoothly, please see to it that these preparatory problems are addressed properly. Never think that it is not my cup of tea. So that was for the land-related challenges. Then we have contractual challenges. Now all these are big contracts. Each, let's say, from this stretch to this stretch, tunnel has to be done. The cost of the tunnel is, say, 1,800 crores. While making this contract, please ensure that all the factors are properly captured in the contract. Never make loosely worded contracts, because the contractor is a very smart chap. He will drag you to the courts and extract huge amount of money from you. So once again, contractual management, we can say not engineer's job, but they become engineer's job, because without this, your project becomes inefficient. So an engineer should also be a good contract management. You should know how contracts are made. You should know elementary things about the law of contract and what are the liabilities being created. If you are able to do it, you will be able to make a watertight contract. And a watertight contract, if made, the contractor also delivers it very well. So that was the part of a contract. Why it's also important is, if a contract something goes wrong, the retender will take 1 year. And I told you, 14,000 crores loan at 10% interest. A day of delay, what does it mean? So all these small things need to be addressed by us beforehand. A loosely worded contract and we are finished. I'll give you an example of what exactly happened. Then we had one more problem. This was a project first time happening. The contractors also wanted to get this project. So what they did, they became aggressive. And they became aggressive and they bid lower price than it was reasonable to get the contract. And after that, they got stuck. What do we do? Now I'll give you a live example. This was a tunnel contract. A tunnel was to be made, and it was a tunnel about, say, 6 kilometers long. And this contractor bid a price very low. It was lower than the actual cost of drilling. उसने काम किया, and this tunneling is done by tunnel boring machines. I don't know if you are aware of tunnel boring machines. Let me explain to you. A tunnel boring machine, it's about 100 meters long. It weighs about 1,000 tons. Okay? And this machine is such that it can only move forward, it cannot come back. Now, I think engineers will be able to understand, civil engineers, when you are boring, the cutter revolves and it cuts the rocks in front of it, and as it proceeds forward, we put a layer of concrete behind it. So what will happen is, the cutter will not be able to come back. Okay, so it can only go forward. So this fellow had made 1 kilometer and the machine is inside, and he says, sir, I cannot proceed any further because my rates are not working. Now we were in a great dilemma what to do. One way was, you consult a lawyer, you say, sir, penalize him heavily and we will recover the damages. Just imagine, if you penalize him, if he abandons the machine inside, what do? 1,000 tons of steel cannot come back. They're stuck over there. Okay, in 6-8 months time, it will get corroded, rusted, and it is finished. Okay, then what will happen to tunnel? So this entire tunnel has to be abandoned. You will have to bore one more tunnel. The straightway question of adding 5 years. So this is what happened. That he came, he stopped over there, he raised his hand, sir, I cannot do any further boring because the rates you are giving to me, it was coming to almost, his rate was 5 lakh rupees per meter of drilling. Okay, 5 lakh rupees per meter. He says, sir, my costs are coming to 8 lakh rupees per meter. So every meter I advance, I lose 3 lakhs. So these are sort of numbers. So what do we do? This is where You have to find out some creative solution. So what do? One is we cancel his contract and give a new one. That is, project is behind by 5 years. You increase his rates from 5 lakhs to 8 lakhs. What will happen? No, not financial loss, yaar. There will be a criminal case against you. How did you increase the rates in bid? So what do? Then any solution? We did a very smart thing, very unconventional. I don't think you should do it, but yes, we did it. All these contracts have huge amount of performance guarantee, right? Performance guarantee means if I am not able to perform, a bank gives him guarantee that bank will pay you on his behalf the performance guarantee. Okay. So, and this amount was good 400 crores. Right? Okay. So what we did was, we said, if you don't perform, we will encash your bank guarantee. So we encashed 400 crores of his bank guarantee. So what happened? The bank were forced to pay this money to us, so we got this 400 crores. Right? Okay. Then we said, you do the work, I will pay you at 8 lakhs per kilometer, but I will pay you from this money. You're getting the point? So, we encashed the guarantee, we took his money, the bank gave him on his behalf, the bank will keep on fighting with him. Okay, we have this money, from this money we paid him the extra money. Okay, the dispute is still going on between bank and this and BMRCL, but the project has been completed. Okay, so what we did was, by this technique, we were able to push the litigation from today to post completion. So at least the project got completed. Now we are fighting. We also fight, you also fight. Court will decide, we'll pay you for that. So that's how it was done. So contractual obligations have to be very clearly spelled out. Okay, next. There are social challenges. As I told you, land acquisition is a big, not a land price problem, it's a social problem. Please see to it that if someone has been dislocated, can we help him out? See, if it is small shopkeeper and all, tell him we will give you a small job in metro system here. He'll happily give you the land. So one has to solve these social problems. You are running through a slum area. In the slum area, some 40 hutments have been demolished. He says, "Sir, don't give us money. Please give us a small job in metro." He says, "Okay, Baba, come, we'll give you a job over there." So he's also happy, we are also happy, we get the land. Anyway, that land never belonged to him. It was an encroached land. So ठीक है यार, land तो हमारा काम तो हो गया ना. Then we have places belong to religious institutions. Now this we have to be very careful. But we were able to persuade all types of communities to give up the lands. And here one has to be very fair and objective. कि भाई देखो उनका भी लिया है तो तुम्हारा भी लेंगे. And they were able to surrender their lands. And then we had accidents during. This has to be minimized. Such a big project, workers lose their lives. And we had large number of deaths. People falling down, people getting crashed accidents here and there. That needs to be minimized. Well, there were technical challenges. As I told you, that we had to work while city is functioning. We could not use heavy machinery because heavy machinery can't go inside the city. So it had to be done with small machinery, step by step. Blasting was ruled out. So very controlled blasting had to be done. The working hours were limited. They said only work in the midnight. Daytime you can't work. So those challenges had to be faced. And what would happen is, when the boring goes on, the boring is, this machine is seen to be, I don't know how many you have seen a tunnel boring machine. It's a giant. And when it moves inside, it almost creates a miniature earthquake. So much force is used. And when it creates the earthquake, the buildings on top may develop cracks. So before you drill, you have to fortify the building. And in one case, we had that this machine went under a temple. The main temple collapsed. but they were good enough. We also said, Baba, don't worry, we will pay you twice the amount to construct this. And in fact, we reconstructed the entire thing. They were also very happy. So one has to come up with all these solutions. We can't strictly go legal. Now Temple will not pay you money. You will pay you only as per PWD rates. So we said, Baba, whatever you want, we'll pay you. It has come down, we take the money, and then they were happily doing it. In one case, the boring machine was going, a mosque just sank by 6 inches. But fortunately, the entire thing sank. So nothing happened. So these are all these challenges. And one boring machine, I told you it's a giant. It was going, there was a public toilet on top. Morning it disappears. It just go down. But fortunately, there was no one inside. So these are real hardcore civil engineering challenges which happen. And as I told you that these are boring machines. And in this case, what you see is a boring machine failed under a railway track. Okay. So you can see this cutter. This weighs 70 tons. So this cutter cracked inside. And it is 40 meters deep. As I told you, machine can't come back. So what we had to do was, we had to drill a huge well on top, reach that, lift this cutter out, 70 tons. A new cutter was imported, lowered, fixed, and the machine. So these are mind-boggling things. And this is you can see the cavity now. This is the cavity where the toilet disappeared. So, well, it happens, but we took precautions. We saw to it that it should not be used when the machine is going down. Then there are operational challenges is that, the train has to run very, very, the accuracy of movement of trains is in seconds. Any metro system, so that was done. And when you're doing underground work with heavy rains, flooding may take place. So all these things need to be addressed. And operation challenges, we have only peaks. During peak, the load is there. Non-peak, trains are empty. How to address this? The train movements, the train operations, the distance of operation, all has to be synchronized with the peak loads.
My question to you is that what is your proudest achievements during your entire metro project?
My proudest achievement?
Yes, sir.
I mean, see, the biggest achievement, as I told you, was when the system was completed and it was inaugurated by the President of India. Now, at that time, that was a huge achievement. But if you break down this into small achievements, the biggest satisfaction would be when a tunnel boring machine comes out on the other end. That used to be a huge ceremony. And we will all gather over there, and the machine would come out, and that giant would emerge behind the rock. So that was a jubilation, not for me also, even for the workers also. They would be so happy that they have come out of this, I can use the word hell. Inside the machine, it is real hell. Working inside the machine, it's so claustrophobic. And people do work 24/7 over there. And going in front of cutter and replacing and repairing that. And I can go into techniques of that. What happens is, when the cutter moves, in front of the cutter, the pressure of the air is increased so that the seepage of water does not take place. So, when a person goes inside to repair the cutter, the wear tear takes place, he has to go inside a pressurized chamber. And if he has gone inside the pressurized chamber, if air leaks, what will happen is this entire thing gets flooded and he is stuck over there. It happens several times, and fortunately we always keep a backup team behind. So the moment it is flooded, so leakage can take place anywhere. So moment it is flooded, we open the chamber and pull them out. So the maximum damage was that the workers became unconscious. It is so fast, and they have to work under high pressure. So it is just like deep sea diving. So that sort of workers are very specialized workers, and they have to work in that type of atmosphere. So a tunnel breakthrough would be a big achievement. That was the most complicated part of it.
My question is, you started your career as an IAS officer, chairman and MD of Air India, and chairman of NRA and secretary of Ministry of Civil Aviation. So how did you smoothly transitions among all these roles?
That's a very difficult one, yes. You know, the uniqueness of IAS is that every successive job has nothing to do with the previous job. See, from Bangalore Metro, I came to Air India. So none of my learnings of metro system was helpful in flying aircraft. Okay? So, but the basic concepts remain the same. As I told you, ability to identify the problem, ability to see the problem well in advance, and the ability to solve the problem. Now, this was the strength which I learned, and with these principles, I was able to address all the different assignments which were quite diverse.